just a note about some stuff we have coming up. We are going to be hosting our next keynote webinar. So that is going to be, as always, a complimentary monthly webinar series on a topic of interest to higher ed professionals. And July's topic is going to be understanding and addressing compassion fatigue in higher ed tutors. And our speaker is going to be John Findora, who's going to be presenting on a study that he and his team did at their Learning Center at Bergen Community College. And because the first Thursday, when we usually have these presentations of July, is July 4th, we're going to be having it a little earlier this month on Tuesday, July 2nd. So we hope to see you there, and please feel free to register. That is free, but we do have limited spots. All right, and before I hand things over to Nick, I do also want to remind everybody about our upcoming conference. That is going to be our Academic Success Center Summit, Academic Center Summit that we are hosting in October. That is going to have both Accudemia training and professional development sessions as well. We have a great schedule getting lined up for you guys, and I'm putting the link there in the chat for where you can click to learn more and register. We do offer early bird registration until July 31st, so take a look and see if you want to take advantage of that. We definitely hope to see you there. Now I am going to go ahead and hand things over to Nick for the Tech Talk.
Thanks, Rachel. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this was just the link so you can kind of get out there and check this out. We've done trainings before, but this is going to be really pretty big thing. So we're going to actually include some professional development in there along with the Accudemia training. And of course, like she said, we have our keynotes and everything out there. So definitely learn more checking out that link. So, all right. So we had like the end of the semester of spring, of course, and you know, a lot of questions came up with the report. So these are just some of the things that, like, you know, when I was getting questions in our support tickets and things like that that I've kind of seen. So, you know, one of the topics that I wanted to go over was session logs versus appointment reports. So I guess just understanding what those are in general. So, you know, when we're looking at the system, you know, basically every visit that happens gets recorded in your under centers here session logs. So this is going to be every visit, whether it's walk-in or appointment based. And there is a way to kind of tell in these logs. The first symbol that you see on the sign-in timestamp here, it will, if you mouse over it, you can kind of see it says walk-in for the one that has like the arrow going in a door. Now, if this was an appointment, let me expand the time. We'll go to like all of, probably better to go spring. Let's see, should have some there. Okay, so yeah, and you know, I only test this every so often. So this one I can tell is an appointment visit. So you're going to be able to see that there's, you know, a lot more than just your appointments in the session logs. So this is actually when the student, you know, comes, signs in, whether they're signing in virtually or they're signing in at a kiosk in your center, you know, physically. That's all going to live right here. The other thing is, if we go look under centers again, is our appointments. So if I go to appointments, view all, you know, I can see all the appointments, which, let me change the date range. Let's see, I'm going to do spring just because I know I had a lot there. So you can see all of these appointments here as well. And they're going to give you, each screen is going to give you a little more details. So I know we're not even in the reports yet, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of where I'm coming from with this. So, and you can see, you know, every time that somebody showed up, if I go to the details, I'm going to be able to see, you know, what time they signed in and who scheduled it and all the different details about that appointment. So now let's take a look at that under data analytics reports. And typically, you can search by a keyword and it should pull up that report. I know before we had all the reports just kind of listed, you might have to like scroll down the page a lot. So the idea was to kind of give you a quick way to find these reports. So if I was looking for appointment specific reports, I'm just going to type that in. And it's going to show me any section that has that information on it. And when I'm looking at specifically anything that has the keyword appointment in it, you just have to realize that we are looking at all of the scheduled but not necessarily happened. So we even have a report here like no shows. So that's one of my favorited ones, just so I could see that. And then of course I can get the detailed history if I want to see, does it have a visit related with it and things like that. And if I look for anything with the keyword attendance, so you're going to see not only summary reports, which are just going to give me by the numbers, like depending on what I summarize these by. So I like the attendance summary here because I've got pretty much like 5 reports in one, because I can get that summarized by course or activity, location, service, instructor, or the tutor or advisor that they met with. So, and it's going to look something like this that we have in the preview here. So, for instance, this one's by service. So they have computer use versus tutoring. And you can see we have a lot more tutoring going on. A few people use the computer as well. And but that's basically what we're going to look at. Another thing to notice when you're looking at these is if I go to another section, this is under administration, advanced, and export. And let's say I wanted to pull just all the data from a certain time period for session logs. This is another way to get information out of the system. It's not necessarily a report, just going to be like a CSV extract from the system. So I'm going to go ahead and pull all of last semester. So let's look for spring 24. I'm going to click export. It looks like it's generating a report like you normally see. And even says the report's ready, but this is through our exports. And these can actually be scheduled just like you could a report, but you would use like the ADX import export tool. So we have a lot of data that comes in here, but something I wanted to point out too, and this might make it a little easier to kind of determine if those were appointment reports or, I'm sorry, appointment visits or regular visits. So if I just apply a quick filter to this, I'm going to go ahead and just filter out for only student visits. So that's the first column here. And the reason why is I know I don't want my tutor hours in this particular report, and this export's going to give you pretty much everything. But the 2 columns that I wanted to kind of point out, and I'll zoom in a little bit, is the log ID and an appointment ID. So basically, as we can see, all of these visits have a log ID because this means that they actually had happened. But you can see some of these actually have an appointment ID associated with it. So that means it was a scheduled appointment and they were a show. Now, one thing this report or export will not show is any of your no shows. So if you're actually looking for that kind of information, you would go ahead and pull like an appointment report. But all of these are definitely going to have the log ID, and then sometimes have, if it's associated with an appointment ID. So that's pretty much all I have on that. The next thing I wanted to kind of go over is session assessments versus survey reports. And again, it's just kind of, I'm going to go through the system first of where those live. So if we go to centers, and oh, I've even had some trouble with these menus now. So sorry. It's going to be actually under administration, center management, surveys. And it's because it's related to the center, you can have surveys there. But we also have the session assessments. So they're actually kind of right next to each other now. But it's because they're related to the center. And the difference being the surveys are going to be going out typically to your students. You can actually have surveys go out to tutors as well, or other types of users depending, but normally these go out to students. And then this one here, the session assessment, is actually where the tutor fills out a form that you guys come up with for each of the centers, and basically says like how that session went. Okay, so it's a little different from maybe the surveys, because the surveys here could be pretty much on anything, whereas the assessments are going to be on that specific session and how that went. And you may require your tutors to complete those, maybe you don't, but that's where those two live, and you can kind of see the difference between them if I were to preview some of these. So this one had going out to my that's not a good example. Let's do maybe center evaluation. So this is a eval for the center. Just basic questions that I ask about how the center is doing. And then when we go to the assessment forms, so each center can have an assessment form here. You can only have one per center right now, but maybe that could change in the future. But for right now, I would go down to, let's say, this writing evaluation that's active still. So you can see that this is skills and tutoring center form that they can fill out. And if you have multiple services, you could combine them and just have like one form, but just certain sections that they fill out for each one. But in this case, maybe only the writing services actually fill out this assessment because they're the ones that use this. So I have some questions that are related specifically to the session and if they're doing any kind of writing assistance here. So now if we could take that back into reports here, and I'm going to look for, let's do the surveys first. So I've got two different types of surveys. I've got under the general, these are mostly anonymous surveys. So these are going to be basically just the results with like maybe the numbers of, that certain students answered or this way or that way on those multiple choice options and things like that. And I have my, under centers here, I have my non-anonymous surveys. So you do have to have special permission to access this as an admin. Usually your college-wide or center level admins will have these, but not every admin would have this necessarily. And these are going to be because they have the survey that the student had taken, and it's actually tied to the session log itself. So, and when you go into these, you do usually have to pick the survey that you want to see the results from. So under this, you'll see surveys. You'll just select it, whatever survey it is, and you can see that list there. Now, if I go a different route and let's say I look for an assessment. So these are all of the session assessments or tutoring assessment, however your terminology is set up. And in these, I can go ahead and see that. And it does say surveys here, but it's really just going to show me all of the assessments that I have. So remember how I had a writing evaluation, and I think this was like English services assessment. But I can go ahead and select which one of those for that type of report. And really just kind of understanding the difference between those, I think, was the main point of that. So it's, an assessment was for that session itself, whereas a survey may not be directly tied to that. So. And then some of the most popular reports that we have here. So I really like the summary reports and traffic analysis because they're going to give you like the overall kind of understanding of where you're at as far as the numbers go. But great ones also are the detailed reports where you can have line by line items of what exactly is happening with whether there's an appointment or a regular walk-in visit or whatever. Also, we have ones where you can pull the report with all the comments that were made. And I have a few, goodness. I have a few on the screen here, but we can go ahead and check those out too. And I did show the summary where you had the different options, but I'm going to go ahead and pull that back up because we actually have a few new summaries if you're been a while that you've been in the reports here. So we have under the centers section, we have a summary comparison where I could actually go and check under 2 different time periods. So maybe I want to check last month against this month, and I still have, because it's a survey report, I have all the different types of summaries. So I could do by service, by location, course. But I can compare 2 different time periods and kind of get a nice graph here. So we'll see, like, on average, how many visits we had for each different service. And I'll just go ahead and do that. I'm going to compare, let's say, spring 24 from spring 23. And there we go. Okay, so it sets my dates here once I just select the semester. And I'm going to do it by service, just so I can do that. And you could filter out by location, but I want to see for maybe all my locations, or you know what? Actually, I'm going to limit the data a little bit to just one center that I use a lot. So the Skills and Tutoring Center. And we'll just do the PDF, and I'm going to go ahead and run. Okay, so here we go. So like I said, the summaries are really nice because I get to see the numbers. Oops, sorry about that. And you can kind of compare and contrast like those 2 time periods. Maybe for instance, in-person tutoring, what, last semester it was like in that same time period, had a lot less maybe than the new one. And, hopefully you'll see that like your numbers are growing. I did the period, you could just choose whichever period. I did the older one last, so it's over in this column, but you can kind of get a good comparison and see that the numbers improved here. And then if you were to get this in, like, let's say an Excel format, if you like, taking these numbers and turn them into charts and stuff like that, you can do that. We also have some charts that are available in the software as well. So under the same reports here, I'm going to look up traffic analysis. And this one actually will give me a lot of data. So if I go look at, let's say last semester, and I'll go ahead and select the center that I'm currently working in. You may not have to do this if you're scoped to that center already. And then just, I'm going to pull all of them just so we can take a look. So these might be helpful, especially when you're trying to figure out for the next semester, like, what time periods are the busiest in your center, and how many staff you may need to be available. And it will come as a zip file, so you're going to see it zipped up. And you just have to right click on it and extract all. Okay, when it opens up, you'll see all your different reports here. And we have a list report, which is all the numbers along with a matching, here, let me sort by name, a matching chart for each one of those. So, and if I just kind of scroll through them, you can kind of see in this little preview window even, this one, for instance, has each day of the week with each hour booked out. And you can kind of see that, Tuesday seems like the busiest there. And, all the numbers to back that up as well in the list view. And what else do we have? Yep, this is just this is like the total hours for each day. Now, hopefully your data is going to look a lot better than mine. I just, do some testing here and there. And now this one is each hour of the day. So you can see it's like a a lot of people in the first beginning of the day, maybe around lunch, and then toward the end of the day, it gets busy again. You might have different curves there. We've got week by week for that semester, how busy it was week to week. Maybe you'll see like finals, you need more staff on that week. And there's even some down here, let's see, I think by service and by subject. So you can see we did a lot of in-person tutoring, some virtual tutoring and workshops that were our most popular services. And for courses, let's see, looks like college algebra and, oh, this is college abstract algebra. Yeah, a lot of algebra. And then this is like a workshop that we had. And yep. So anyway, I think that's all I had for the reports.